Your
Hello,
problems.
and welcome to Masquerade Breach episode 6. Today, we're talking the classic 1987 Lost Boys. I'm Blazewing.
I'm Jasper.
I'm Oceanus Veritas, also known as Cam.
And I'm Catherine Cosplays, also known as Krisha.
We'd like to welcome you to Masquerade Breach. Don't tell the Camarilla. They don't need to know. So, Lost Boys. I've been waiting for this one. How we feeling? What did we like? What did we hate? What do we want to bring up with this movie? This is your chance to talk about it.
Oh, pure 80s.
I think sorry. Did you have more to say?
No, go for it.
I just was gonna repeat what I said. I think it was when we watched the movie. Is like if Queen of the Damned was like a love letter to 90s alternative and grunge, this is literally like a love letter to 80s punk. Like it's just that, and it's so rich. This movie is so rich and it's so decadent. Like that's the word I use to describe this movie. And it has everything. It has everything you need. It's so great. I love it so much.
All I want to say is nerds. Frog Brothers are nerds.
You don't say. That being said, this is one of those movies that helped to define the genre as we know it today. We still carry a lot of that forward. We still embrace that. We still honor all of that shit. It's one of those things that if you've seen it and you've enjoyed it, you're probably gonna enjoy it until the day you die. It is a classic and it has a cult following. Now, if you know it's that. That being said, I'm curious to know how many of you have seen the other two.
Oh no. No.
So they're a lot of people don't know. This is actually part of a trilogy, and they've been trying to get a TV show off the ground now for quite a while. And I don't know if the TV show is actually going to take off. I would love to see a TV show for this. Like, honestly, I would watch the shit out of that. I don't care how cheesy it is, but I would watch the shit out of that. But this is actually the first in a trilogy. There's Lost Boys, there's Lost Boys 2, The Tribe, and Lost Boys 3, The Thirst, I believe. It might be Thirst and Tribe backwards, but I'm pretty sure Tribe is the second one. The second one is set in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then the third one is set shortly after that. So there's quite a gap between the two, or between the three of them, but they are technically part of the trilogy. That being said, the first is actually the best of the series. It doesn't get better than the first.
Well, it changed the whole genre of like vampire horror, all of the vampire romance. It completely changed the whole genre. Completely. Like this was the first. I don't want to say it made vampires cool, but I don't know, it just added that. It brought it into another avenue of alternative that it hadn't been before.
Back in my day, vampires didn't sparkle.
That's not a vampire movie, but we can talk about that at another time.
We will touch upon that at a later date.
We will circle back.
To be perfectly fair, I think one of the fun parts about that versus, I guess, if we're going to place it up against Twilight, Twilight does have moments where it's like, in that aspect, but it's very fleeting. It's beep beep, like very little is grown. What am I trying to say? drawn to a similar system.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Twilight.
I
Not
was
today.
Not today. Today we're talking about the boys. Where did they go?
they were lost.
Somebody
I-
needs to get them
I-
a map.
I
Yeah.
love that they made it the Lost Boys in like reference to Peter
Yep.
Pan, because
And
straight
actually-
up, like,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go
Okay,
ahead.
so it's just like it's such a fascinating, like, when you dive into it deeper, because I feel like all vampires before then, like, their draw to immortality was you live forever, you're this all-powerful being. Like, it was more the stance of like being powerful, whereas this, with the Lost Boys, it's literally just being young and having fun forever, like having that eternal youthfulness that you lose as you get older. So it's like, it's such a neat way, like, it's a whole even different avenue of even like looking at vampirism in general. So yeah.
So the title
Yeah.
Lost Boys, this is just a bit of trivia for those of you that may not know. The title Lost Boys is a direct reference to Peter Pan and crew. That was the inspiration for this movie. 100%. Like, very big influence. That's how it got its name. They wanted something darker. They wanted something a little more bloodlusty. They wanted to bring vampires into it. And this is what they came up with. But they kept that tribute to the original source material that inspired them.
One of the things, if you remember in the original Peter Pan, the older you got, you got, you know, spoilers if you spoilers are the disclaimer here. If you haven't seen it, you're probably going to want to watch this later.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, you know who reminds me of Captain Hook? Throughout the entire thing, Captain Hook was the actual father of Kiefer Sutherland's father, the one that was trying to bring the family together.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland.
You mean his I'm pretty sure it was his sire, was it not?
Yeah, it was the sire. The sire, but I thought he was. He's like, this is my boy.
Might have been his boy. That might have just been a term of endearment. I don't actually know enough to know if that was his actual father and if that was something that was passed down, say, maybe genetically, or if they're mixing those lores. I don't know if we have enough information to go on that.
Yeah, I don't.
I
thought it was just in a vampire way.
The sad thing about this is there is very little information other than what's in the movies. And we don't have a lot of background lore. It's all up to fan conjecture. We do get a bit more information from the other two movies, such as, yes, werewolves do exist, which is actually part of movie 3. It's not huge plot. It's not huge spoiler. It's literally just a throwaway fact. We do know that the little brother ends up being turned. We find that out at the end of movie 2. And that one of the Frog brothers ends up putting an end to him. We find out that the other Frog brother ended up a half vampire for like the entire third movie, which is absolutely wild. But we don't have a lot of like outside information, or information that what other than that that which is displayed, I guess, in the movie itself.
Yeah.
Which I would love to have that kind of lore and be able to do a lore deep dive, but it doesn't exist.
I'm sure there's some, forum somewhere that we could, really, really dive into if we really wanted to.
That makes me. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That's like I have a chicken and the egg question. Like, did the vampires move to Santa Clara because it was the murder capital of the world, so it'd be really easy to kill people? Or did it become the murder capital of the world because the vampires lived there?
I want to say yes.
Yes. To
Yes.
both.
They moved there because people were dying, or it became the place people died because of the vampires.
So I want to take this a bit of a different road this time. I want to ask each of you a couple of different questions. The first is, what was your most hated moment of this movie? What did you like the least about this movie?
I know what my thing is.
Okay, we'll come around to you, Ocean.
So I'm not big on the I guess the animalistic makeup that they used. The idea that your facial structure entirely changed because you're a vampire was kind of it made it more of a monster movie than it needed to. I feel that we're supposed to be, vampires were considered the perfection of, the transcendence of humanity, that they were the apex predators of humans, and I feel that as they were doing it, it kind of gave a more Neanderthal look to it rather than a perfect creature in that aspect. I guess is the best way I can put it. The makeup, while yes was good for its time, was not the greatest.
I mean, it could have been kind of almost interpreted as an offshoot, maybe a different branch of the human race or something like that. That being said, this is also where the inspiration for Buffy's vampires makeup came from. Catherine Cosplays.
I'm gonna have to agree with Ocean. I don't even like it in Buffy. It's just like the problem is that they're trying to look scary, and I'm just like, oh my god, eyebrows. That's all I see are just the eyebrows. Like the contacts and the way they use the lighting to make them like glow, and the special lighting tricks they did, and like the fangs, those were very impressive. But I'm not an eyebrow fan. I'm not. It just distracts me.
Yeah,
I would be the worst, like I would be the worst person to be like, if the vampires came after me, like they would be like trying to be menacing, and I'm just like, dude, what's wrong with your eyebrows? And
like your forehead.
they'd be like, my eyes are down here, like my eyes are lower. And I'm like, what up? Did you get stung by a bee? Like,
I can
Yeah,
see
it
it
looks
now.
like they were dealing with an allergen to bee sting. They just get puffy and be like, do you need some Benadryl?
I
do you
can see it
want me
now.
to take some Benadryl so you can have it by proxy? Like,
I can see it now. Chris should just like casually getting mauled by a vampire and questioning about those fucking eyebrows as she's actively in the process of dying and being ripped apart.
they'll have to just turn me around because they're like, if she doesn't see the eyebrows,
She's looking
she
at me.
won't.
I can't eat my food when it's looking at me.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh.
I
Jasper.
can't do the eyebrows. Go ahead, Jasper.
Listen. The makeup wasn't great. We can all agree. The worst part about this movie was its pacing. I really disliked the pace in this movie because at some point everything was happening, but for so long there were just points where it lagged. There was nothing going on but 80s music. And that's not a problem for some people, but it was a bit of a problem for me. I want things to be happening when I watch the movie.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things with pacing in regards to that, I agree with you on that, Jasper, because the fact with how it went. It went from like it didn't make sense in a lot of places. Like, what's happening to me? Let's go right into a sex scene.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. When we're like, what's happening to me? Don't worry about it.
Just I'm just gonna give you myself for right now so you can forget about that question.
Yeah.
Okay, but to be fair, that is like teenage psychology 101. It's like something's happening. I have feelings. Like that's
Krishy, your
That's
camera
you've
froze.
broken down
teenage-
you've broken down teenagers to their base essentials.
Krishy, your camera froze. Oh, there we go. Wait, maybe not.
Oh, my camera no.
You're good. You're good. We see you
You're good.
now. You're good.
Yay! Okay, good.
Okay.
That is
Now,
very much teen psychology 101.
with that out of the way, what was your favorite moment of this movie? Let's start with Ocean.
Well, one of the best parts about it is that I got to see Kiefer Sutherland in his prime. And who doesn't like a Kiefer Sutherland in his prime? I guess one of my favorite scenes though was when they were in the cave for the first time with the Frog Brothers, and they're going up to one of them. They're like, "It's a bloodsucker," and they're all dangling from the top of the cave and whatnot. And all you see is this, "Ah!" And they all run. It just was like Goonies but vampires. That's all I can say. Goonies with vampires, and I like the Goonies, so I like the vampire version Lost Boys.
Krisha.
Real.
The problem is I can't name a part. I think I'm gonna be honest. Like my favorite part that always just like I really like the when the younger brother finds out that Michael is a vampire and he's like, and instead of like being afraid, he's like, "Mom's gonna be so mad. You're a goddamn vampire, you idiot! Why?"
My own brother,
Stupid
a goddamn
idiot.
my own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire.
Oh my god, and the poor mom. Just like this woman's been through so much. Like Jesus, poor woman.
Jasper.
I'm just gonna let the cat out of the bag and say Kiefer Sutherland made me feel things about in this movie. And
Yeah,
that
he
was
does
my favorite
that.
part. And that was my favorite part.
Yeah, he does that.
There is a part that I do like, and it's because we haven't brushed up on it. But the grandpa.
Oh my
Loves the
god, I
grandpa.
forgot about my boy!
One thing I never could stomach about Santa Carla. All the damn vampires. Like,
Oh,
Bro was just chilling for 90%, 95% of the movie.
yeah.
It's like I'm gonna go and get that. Yeah, I'm gonna go get that gilf.
I'm gonna go kill steal from my grandkids real quick.
Yep.
So you don't drink my root beer.
So there is a fan theory going around that the last time after Grandpa goes to visit the widow Johnson, he was actually bitten by her.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that that's a little hard to say because he's sick of it. Like the idea that he knew about them for a long time. Like he was like you could see that he was unfazed by everything.
That tells us that he's had run-ins with them before, that he knows they exist, and that he's known this for quite a while. Which leads me to believe he might have been a hunter back in the day, which now makes me want a story based on Grandpa and his exploits.
Exactly.
Yeah, the grandpa spinoff.
I feel like the main leader guy who takes the mom on a date, I can never remember his name. That, like, now in my head, I have the theory that, like, him when he was mortal and the grandpa were, like, friends, but then, like, shit hit the fan, and now they're, like, enemies, and that's why they keep,
Ooh.
like, he was like, oh, I got your daughter, and like, oh, I got your grandsons, like, just sending his, like, how else would the Lost Boys know where Michael lives?
Okay, so I don't care about anything else now. Headcanon fucking accepted. This is my reality and the world in which I live, and nobody else can convince me any different.
Now I have an addendum to that, because think about it. What if beforehand they were fighting over the same woman?
What if it was the Widow Johnson and she was actually part of like an original trio, and something happened between them? He got turned. Grandpa didn't, and the Widow Johnson's just basically like, I've had enough of this shit. Fuck y'all. I'm out.
Widow Johnson's a witch.
Widow Johnson was divorced, the one that the mother is dating.
Wait, she's a widow because he got turned into a vampire, so technically he's dead.
Yeah.
There is one thing I'd like to point out about this movie.
Yes.
I don't know how many of you noticed it, but when they went into the cave to kill the vampires the first time around, and they successfully staked one of them and killed him. David went after the kids, right? And had a good grip on one of their ankles. Tried to pull them back into the darkness, the safety of the cave. He failed to do so, and then he caught fire. And then we saw something rather interesting. Just a shot of David and his face, and a single solitary tear falling down his cheek. And I'm curious about that because I haven't heard anybody else bring this up. It's something that always kind of got me. Is that because he knows what he gave up and he can't go into the sun anymore? Or is that because he knows the end is coming? Or is that him kind of regretting being what he is and missing his humanity?
Now is this okay? David's the Kiefer Sutherland or the other one? I thought it was the other one.
That's Kiefer Sutherland.
It would be David.
Okay, so
Blonde one.
I think, considering the culmination, if you look back when they staked the first one, and while they may have thought it, if you noticed when he was when the first one was staked, every single one of the other vampires woke up immediately.
Yep.
That's a
coders.
I think it has more to do with the telepathy link that they have, which would explain why David knew where the main character, Michael, was the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear you.
What? Oh, I just said, mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Nope, didn't hear you. Okay.
What?
I'm in agreement with you there. I think, like, that would, but also the fact that, like, David just lost his, like, second in command. like he lost some of his boys.
You guys
Which
keep
is-
talking. I will be right back.
All right, so yeah, I think the tear is actually from the loss of not only his second in command, but also the idea that the pain in his hand, plus the loss of understanding that Michael is not accepting who he is. I think that's the other thing as well. So it's a culmination of things, and of course, yeah, he does cry a single solitary
I would
tear,
rather talk
and
about.
that's, I think, because he lost one of his coterie mates as well.
And then also, I think it's also just like what Blaze said.
1 second.
Like,
1 second. Apparently, my computer has started playing music.
It's cute, Delia.
From Beetlejuice, of all things.
Okay.
oh
Sorry.
my god, it is.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But also like, I do also think it's the realization like it just hit the fan. Like they have been living in this like this continuous night of just like youth bliss and youth hijinks and like not having to have like a worry in the world. And
Yeah.
it's just like that shit just hit the fan, the realization of like, oh, everything can like die, like we could die. Like it's that realization too. So it's just a culmination of all of it together, I definitely think.
Yeah. I really do think it's just the loss of the boy. He lost
That-
his boy.
That, and also I think the betrayal. I think that should be mentioned. The betrayal of not just one, but two of the ones that they were going to be bringing into the fold, having them turn around and essentially, stake, and destroy one of them was that's an ultimate betrayal. You're like, I have invited you into my world, and how dare you? One of them had been there for a lot longer, so it was even far more of a betrayal than even just Michael's betrayal, but the betrayal of the girls, not Star.
Star.
Is it
It is
Star?
Star.
It is Star.
Star and Michael.
Okay. So Star and Michael's betrayal of this became solidified, and where he'd probably been told by the others that we should probably just kill them because they're not, blah 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 blah. In fact, there was some distrust between the coterie and Star and Michael, especially because it's too soon. The fact that Star had opened up and to Michael because she was supposed to kill him and decided that she fell in love with him instead was another aspect that just, it brought so much to that idea, and it's insane.
I loved Star. She was so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her
It's
hair
very-
is
Think
so
about
fluffy.
her.
There is a certain thing. There's a certain pull towards that kind of stereotypical 1980s aesthetic, I think. And it works really well with this movie, especially given kind of the context and maybe the level of technology and just kind of. Does anybody know what the budget was for this movie? Like how much they spent on this movie?
I'd imagine not much.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like very low budget and very very much practical effects, at least from what I saw.
Yeah.
A couple of the like scenes with blood looked like they just had somebody with like a bucket of blood off screen and threw it at a fucking wall.
I mean, yeah.
The budget was $8.5 million.
No. Budget. How much did they spend on it? Not how much did they get from it.
No, they got like 32 million for gross income, but no, they only had a budget of 8.5 million.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
So they did effects that look like a low budget like cult horror movie with like $8.5 million.
Let's be fair.
That's insane.
A lot of that money went to sets.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That and also special effects, makeup. A lot of that went to makeup. A lot of that went to production time, and how much was actually placed on the cutting floor.
Fair. And a lot of that stuff that was put on the chopping block, we will probably never get back. It has been lost to the sands of time. And I would kill to have something like that, like new material that we can go over and review. Maybe, watch a director's cut or something like that. I would love to have something like that for this movie, but the reality is we'll probably never get it.
Not to mention how many times did they do, and this was also a time before gag reels was a thing.
Yep.
How much of it was cut away because of the fact that they messed up their lines?
Yeah, bloopers.
Where are the bloopers?
You what?
Huh?
What was that?
I just said, where are the bloopers?
This movie holds such a special place in my heart. For me, I think it's very much safe to say this is a comfort movie for me. This is a movie I turn to when I'm feeling kind of down and low. A lot of people go for this, lovey-dovey fluff stuff, the feel-good movie. This is my feel-good movie, I think. And I would highly recommend it that if you ever have a chance to see this on the big screen, like if they're doing a showing on the big screen, fucking take it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ocean. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of the things about this movie that it definitely pioneered a way for the special effects and the graphics in it to continue to go through. This goes into things of other movies. Buffy, you had mentioned. I think From Dusk Till Dawn was another one that had that same kind of camp. John Carpenter's Vampire is another one that's also, it all plays into that like 80s 90s aesthetic. And it's worth to mention that these were inspired by and bounce off one another of what worked, what didn't work, and they improved on the same techniques. And I think that's something that they took a good number of time into accounting when it comes to things like with Dracula and Carmilla and the books and just all what it comes to it. And it really kind of showcases that not every single vampire movie is going to be exactly the same. It's not cookie cutter.
What I was going to say earlier is something I really, really loved about this movie is the acting, specifically the intensity between characters, like the unspoken words. Like, especially in the beginning, like, it looks like Star is, like, begging Michael to leave and to, like, run, but she can't actually say anything.
Yeah.
Like, from behind him, she's just, like, begging with her eyes, like, please run, you have to leave. And then the intensity between Michael and Star, like, just in their more intimate moments, like, the mom of, well, that actress who played the mom is just, like, great. So, no matter what she's in. But the acting was so good. I really loved it so much. It was so good. And, like, the intensity, the more intimate moments, just, like, all around, just the actors did a phenomenal job, in my full belief.
Yeah, it was really well put together, despite its discrepancies in kind of critical thinking. But again, I'm gonna put it out there: teenagers. So we could always blame it on teenagers.
I'm pretty sure I already know Krish's answer to this, but what was your favorite set for this movie?
The Lost Boys hideout was just so cool. You thought I was gonna say the stage with like saxophone oil man.
Sure did.
Oh my god, literally, chat, when we watched this, the entire first 20 minutes, I was like, where's my man? Where is my man? And then the scene of I Still Believe with saxophone oily man, I was like, yes! Like I was I love that detail that the songwriter was like, oh, I'll write you a song for your film, but I have to be in it. So they basically wrote that scene so that he could be in it. And I was just like, yes, saxophone man! And then I was quiet the rest of the movie. But straight up, just like, it looks like it was built by, or just thrown together by a vampire crew. Like, it was cool. It was like, ooh, this is the hangout spot. Like, the meticulous details in it too, just chef's kiss. I love it.
How about the two of you?
I think. Go ahead.
No, you go.
All right. So there's a couple of sets that I liked. Obviously the cave was really, really good. I like the cave. One of the other sets that I really liked is the bonfire. The bonfire where you're out in the open and it's just a party all night long, that on a beach where there's a ton of activity, a ton of nightlife. This being in a city where you get that with, like, normally, for as much as the kids are playing at night, you have kind of that line between, it's almost a blurred line between the adult nightlife, i.e. the bar scene, the clubs where you have to be 21 or older. But during those times of, like, it almost felt like a set to what's that movie with what is his name, Kurt Russell, and Keanu Reeves. It's Blue something. It's not Blue Heat, is it? The one where he's an international, like, surfer or whatnot. Has that kind of surf vibe to it, if you know what I mean. And it's like, oh, we're not supposed to be out this late, but here we are being out this late. The other one was definitely the scene right at the very end where the truck goes through the house. And all those, like, massive tree posts go in and obviously kill the main vampire. But it was such an interesting concept that they had the pickup truck going through the living room was insane. And of course all the way up through that was insane too. But it was a good set that kind of gave a layout of a house that was just being wrecked.
Just as kind of a final thought for me before we get to our rating, I think there is one thing that I absolutely loved in this movie as far as mechanics and lore go. Don't ever invite a vampire into your house, silly boy. Give away all your power. Which, for me, is
Indeed.
wild. That's something we don't think about anymore. We don't really take into kind of modern day vampire lore. And it's such an interesting way of playing things, because it means once you invite that vampire in, you are effectively screwed. You are their plaything, even in your own home. And whatever weaknesses they had don't work anymore, and you have to find a way to deal with them outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Michael.
On that note, let's get into a rating. 1 to 5. 1 to 5 stakes. How campy was it? Ocean.
Oh, 5 out of 5 on the camp. It was absolutely from the level of the scare tactics that they used down to the are you sure you're not a vampire?
Later on in I think it's the other two movies, they come up with Fang Check.
Right?
It's like, Fang Check. Ah! Just like fucking get a meat hook in there. Krisha.
It's a 6 out of 5 for camp. It is literally the definition of vampire 80s camp.
Jasper.
Oh yeah, 5 out of 5. What can I say that hasn't been said?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 5 out of 5 for camp. How realistic was it? How did it hold up to the kind of the vampire lore that we know today? 1 to 5 blood drops. What would you give it?
Personally, I would say 3. Because like there are obviously some liberties taken with vampirism, and it has the like vampire transformation thing with the makeup, which I don't know if I subscribe to that belief. But burn in the sunlight, garlic, all the stuff. It's so funny how they thought garlic did something. And they the guy ate it and was like, what the fuck is this?
Well, it very well could have. Don't forget, they'd already invited him into the house at that point, which means they gave up all of their power. Krisha.
I'm gonna have to agree with Jasper on that one. I'm giving it a 3. Like, they follow it, but then they're like, this'll make the plot cooler. So they add something else.
Ocean.
I'm going to go with, as much as I would have to say, this is something that goes back to a compendium that I once read, in regards to not all vampires are the same. I want to say I'd give this about a 4 out of 5. And the reason why I give this a 4 out of 5 to it is because while, yes, it does give kind of the whole idea that garlic was kind of a minor aspect, you'll find this cropping up, practically not just anywhere, but there are certain movies that take that same kind of route, which again is kind of a pioneering aspect of it. So garlic was kind of a minor determination. What it was kind of put in as an understanding that one of them had an aversion to it, but doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't just some person that just doesn't like garlic. The other aspect is it followed suit to, like, holy water was a thing. I didn't see any crucifixes, so hard to say if there was any crucifixes or holy relics that would do anything. But the idea that the sunlight, UV rays, and especially steaks was it kind of showcased a thing called steak bait, where a steak could kill you, instead of just torturing. So it gave way to an idea that is not often seen. Where again we see it and we've seen it in other episodes of Masquerade Breach in regards to a throwback of Dracula Dead and Loving It, where he staked the person and obviously blood everywhere type thing. Same kind of concept. But yeah, I think a lot of it just follows suit to the idea that it is following to an itinerary or a thing that is based in the, at the time, the media and the folklore aspect of it, which I think falls into a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. There are things I liked about this movie. There are things that didn't quite follow the lore. This movie helped to define some of the things of the genre. There's a little bit of everything for me there, so I think a solid 3.5 for me is gonna kind of set that marker.
Mm.
Now for our coffins. Let's put this one to bed. Would you recommend this? Did you like it? Would you recommend it to someone else? Let's start with Krisha this time.
Oh, 5 out of 5. I love this movie. The sequels, not as much. This one, absolutely 5 out of 5.
Ocean?
Kiefer Sutherland is the best 5 out of 5.
Jasper?
5 out of 5. But for real, 0 out of 5 because I'm keeping it all for myself. It's mine.
And yeah, this one definitely gets a 5 out of 5 for me because, again, this one's a classic. If you're getting into the vampire genre, if you want to look at defining material, this is one you're going to want to hit up, I think. This is one that you're either going to love it, you're going to hate it, and if you love it, you're going to love it till the day you die. Just don't look at AO3. There's a lot of stuff there that you might not necessarily get over. Like, there's a lot of shit in the AO3 listings. Just say it. Or I mean, maybe that's your go. We don't kink shame here, but yeah. No, it definitely gets a 5 out of 5 for me.
Mm.
So, I guess this means we should probably, before I forget again, tell our audience what we're watching next. So episode, hold on. This should be episode 5, not episode 6. My bad.
Oh, is it?
Our next episode, which means I labeled our promo stuff wrong. That's all good though. I'll fix that eventually, or maybe I won't because that's just hilarious that way. The next thing that we're watching, for those of you who are interested and would like to keep up on this with us, and would like to watch this coming week, What We Do in the Shadows, the movie.
With Johnny Depp.
No.
Oh wait, what? Yeah, no, that's unless
No,
we're doing
you're
the
thinking of
series.
Dark Shadows.
I am thinking of Dark Shadows.
What if he just drank some drug blood and now I'm a wizard?
Wait, is that not? Oh, we're doing the movie, aren't we?
Yeah, we're
not doing the series.
We're doing the movie. We're doing the movie.
We drank the blood of some people, and the people were on drugs, and now I'm a wizard.
What We Do in the Shadows is a good one. I've seen, I binged the entire series. Like, there's a movie and there's a series. I binged the entire series in 3 days with a friend. That's all we did for 3 days was fucking watch that. So if you'd like to follow along with that this week, please feel free. What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. If you have any comments, critiques, or feedback, please feel free to, leave them in our comments section, wherever we might have one. I can't exactly remember where that is at the moment, because we don't have, official social media or anything like that. You can leave them, on our TikToks and the Twitch, all of that jazz. This has been a good discussion, guys. I liked this. I'm also curious to see what our audience has to say and what our listeners have to say, so please leave some feedback. We love that kind of stuff. Don't forget to, rate us on Spotify. Don't forget to interact with whatever videos we put out. Don't forget to interact with wherever we're hosting our podcast and give us kind of that boost. But for Masquerade Breach, I'm Blazewing.
I'm Oceanus Veritas.
I'm Jasper.
And I'm Catherine Cosplays.
And we'll eventually find our flow for those intros and outros. For the moment, though, don't tell the Camarilla. They've already got enough. They don't need any more.